part of the tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use images that you might pull from the internet or from a camera and pull them in as your backgrounds. So first of all, we're going to try not to just use Google Images, which will tend to give you images you don't have the rights to. Instead, I'm going to start by searching for a public domain image search. Public domain means an image is free to anyone to use. Wikipedia is probably one of the greatest sources of public domain images because Wikipedia is very careful to check that they have the rights to all the images they use. Pixabay has a search engine that I find works sometimes, although I'll show you a lot of their results will actually come from other places like Shutterstock that actually want you to pay for the images. So once you click through, though, they'll tell you what the license is, and you can find their license, and you can see the resolution of the image you're pulling down. So in my case, I thought, I was thinking of my pizza place, and I don't know, I thought maybe a picnic by a vineyard might be good. This is a public domain image. I need my image to be at least 1,000 pixels wide, so I'm going to pull down this large one. There's an even bigger one I could use, but I don't actually need it that big. So go ahead and download this. Apparently I have to do the CAPTCHA. I can do that, thanks. And here comes the download. Again, I know this is in public domain, which means I don't even have to give the credit. It says here, free for commercial use, no attribution required. It's not a bad idea to give credit to Linnea Flower here, who was nice enough to upload this, but I don't have to. So I'm going to show this in the Finder now to find this image. And just like I opened my background in GIMP, I'm also going to open this in GIMP with either Control-click or click the gear Open with and choose GIMP. Okay, and now we're going to see this is a separate image here. Now I can see the size of this image, 1440 by 1920, and I can see here my template is, oops, sorry about my computer. My template's 1,000 by 1,000, so I need to scale this to about 1,000 would be my limit here. So I could just paste the whole thing in, or I can scale it. I'm going to try pasting it in and see if I like the scale. So I'm going to select all. I did that by typing Control-A and then copy. And now I can come to my other image, and it's nice to use separate desktops for this. I'm not for this recording. It can be hard to find all your things. You can always use that Windows menu to get your layers back in your toolbox. I'm now going to paste my image in, and you'll see it because it's bigger than 1,000 pixels. It actually fills more than the screen. It also creates a new layer by default. And I can go ahead and click the new button, and that will turn it into its own layer. I could toggle the layers on and off. I can actually just delete this background layer because we're not going to use it. Now I'm going to choose the Move tool, which lets me move that image around. I can click minus, which will let me zoom in or out, and I can get a sense of how is this. I don't actually really care about those people. Let's see if I can move them. Can't quite get the wine bottle. It'd be nice to have. That sort of says this is a nice, pleasant picnic. And I like those stringed lights, so I'm going to try to have those sort of frame my image. The wine bottle and the menu, and then the string of lights. And that looks pretty nice now as a background. Now for the background itself, I can think about what colors I want here. Obviously, we have a red and green scheme coming through. The red table, green there, complementary colors. And I can play the levels a little bit. Some of this is a little bit, oops, let me play with the curves. Some of this is a little bit shadowy. That starts to be washed out. It actually might look nicer, a little deeper. Ooh. You can see that starts to get a little more vivid. Another thing I could play with, it's a little bit washed out. I do like darkening it. If I play with the hue saturation, and I can bring out some of those greens a little more. I can click green and red. Bring the saturation up a little bit. I get the red there looks a little too unnatural. You can see I can start to get a little bit more of a dramatic effect. And then I don't really want this to look quite like a photograph. I'd like it to be more of a background. So I can come into the artistic. This is under the filters. I go to the filters window, artistic. and I can start to play with some of these effects. The Gimppressionist is one of my favorites. It's going to try to create a sort of painted effect, and they have a whole bunch of choices here how to do it. I can go ahead and choose one and click OK, and that's going to fade it out now, so no longer do I care about the details so much. It now feels much more like a background. All right, now if I go ahead and save this, overwrite the background, I can pop back over to my web page, and I've now got that picnic background. You'll see actually the wine bottle, I kind of lost that detail in here, but the basic idea is workable.